Pretty calm day out here. So Lake Ouachita, this is Ride for the Fallen 12, but we're calling it Dive for the Fallen 4. Right. You guys have been following our social media for a while. I wanted to introduce Mr. Eddie Rogers. So he's one of the culprits that's guilty for keeping us up here every year. So we're right outside. We're 40, 50 miles from I-30, Hot Springs, Arkansas. And you, after we got linked up with Kelly Brown a few years ago, Will and you were some of the guys who put this dive together. So I wanted everyone to kind of see what we got going on. If you could describe what you got going on here.
You guys had reached out to us.
Yeah.
And said, hey, we're going to honor Adam. We all kind of came up with the game plan of we're going to go ahead and dive. Let you guys go down and see it. We brought Scott and Mike Holly, Scott McCrory, Mike Holly for the dive shop too up in Little Rock.
Yeah.
They work with us all the time. Scott is actually a founding member of the dive team, so they're out here every year with us.
Yeah.
And they make sure that everybody's safe under the water. They make sure everything goes pretty smooth. And we just have a good time honoring Adam, introducing the memorial to more people.
Yeah.
Which is what we're all about.
And a bunch of y'all jumped on the bikes with us down there too. So from the last gas stop, I appreciate it. The Adam that he's talking about is a guy named Adam Brown. He was with Naval Special Warfare, SEAL Team 6, was killed in 2010, a little area called Chapadara, but a lot of his guys were watching here. We talked about some of the guys killed in Extortion 17, which was a completely different operation, but Adam was from that same unit. And his wife Kelly authorized us to represent that name. And the memorial that he's talking about is underwater here. So it's depending on the water level here at the lake, it's anywhere from 20 to 30 feet. Roughly we're 20 to 25 feet today, but it's a very large, it's called Fearless Rock. It's a very large memorial. And I knew about this thing years ago. I did not know Adam, but I got the convenience. I say that ironically. I got the convenience of working with a bunch of guys who used to work with Adam on the civilian side with what I do professionally. And his book that was written by Eric Blim called Fearless was awe-inspiring, and it wasn't the standard war story type nonsensical book. It actually told a human story. It told a lot about his drug addiction, a lot of the fights that he had with his family, a lot of the infighting with law enforcement, which there's a bunch of us. But then when and then they tied it to his service, what happened when he was on active duty. And then what you guys built here, I read somewhere, and maybe you can correct me on this, I read somewhere that this is the only memorial of its kind within the continental United States. The only one that's different would be Pearl Harbor, which is, not in the continental United States. So when I heard that, and then when I saw that, and then when I had connections with Kelly and with our motorcycle ride 4 or 5 years ago, I was like, it only makes sense to contact these dudes and see if they'll babysit us underwater. And when y'all did the first time, and I was one of the first ones who got to go, it was pretty wild, to say the least.
Yeah. Oh, and we were the first memorial of this type to where, one, you can get to it by boat or by land. Two, it's an underwater.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, it's one of the few that you can do that, and it's also one that it's interactive, is the way I like to phrase it, because you can pick up. We get so many coins, military coins and memorial coins and everything sent to us from all over the world, which is amazing. And we take them all down there. Usually we get one. We'll have 2 coins, one for us, and then one we give to the family. So one goes underwater, there's a copy of it that the family has, generally speaking. Not everybody does, but most. But also, it's one of the only ones you can touch it, you can feel it. You go in, no one guards it overnight, no one guards it during the day. Yeah. You don't get charged to go in or anything like that. And it was one of the first ones of its kind in the whole U.S., and there's a couple others that have came up since then that have this similar concept. But yeah, ours, from what I understand as well, ours was the first one of its type.
Yeah, and I remember reading that, and some of the guys on active duty were telling me about it. And then when I put 2 and 2 together, and I looked where it physically was on the map, I was like, man, you got to be kidding me. It's 45 freaking minutes from where we're going to be passing by. And I think it's unique to the SEALs mission itself. That existing underwater like that is completely different, especially in a tactical capacity. Right. With my freaking limited knowledge, right? I never had to do that professionally. But this memorial is unique because I mentioned sensory overload earlier with when you're on the road, you know, you're paying attention to the weather, the bikes, people around you, all these drivers, all these things you have to be hyper aware of. When you're underwater here, you actually lose all those senses. It's pretty cool because what I remember was, and what these guys are getting ready to experience right now, it's happening right behind us. As soon as they go into the water, all that stuff goes away. You do have limited visibility, but you get to go to the bottom, and as you descend, and it's pretty slow, but it's a slow descent, some people slow down and they swim out to it. I remember all those senses being taken away, and it was just me with this massive set of rocks and memorials underneath. And then for us, you know, Adam's not the only person down there. It's huge. So I got to notice former teammates of mine who aren't around anymore, and then some guys that I went through training with. And yeah, I had a direct connection with this rock under this lake in random Arkansas somewhere that I'd never been before that kind of tied 2 and 2 together, and it only made sense for what Coast to Coast is trying to achieve. So plus it connected us with you guys. It connected us with, you know, Adam Brown's foundation. We took Kelly out to dinner. We talked a bunch of trash all night. I mean, it was a unique friend / family event where it was underwater.
Yeah.
That's kind of where it started, which was, you know, very different than being on 2 wheels and, you know, skirting through interstate traffic.
Larry and Janice, they wanted one point to be made clear through the book that told the story of Adam. And they said, we want you to tell about the bad stuff as well as the good stuff, because we want people to learn from it. We want people to experience that part of it too. They did. Yeah. One of the few families that didn't want that hidden. Yeah. They're like, no, put that out there, because we were proud of the fact that he got into recovery. They were proud of the fact that he overcame his addiction and everything. Yeah. And that's one part of it that's doesn't get highlighted near as much.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty wild, even with some guys going through, like with Coast to Coast, we don't have any paid staff, and our money pays for guys to go to different medical treatments. Mm-hmm. And when you factor in, like, let's do a comparison here with Adam's story of past history of substance abuse. Yep. How many of our honorees had that, or some of the active duty guys who are still even on the road with us, they have a history of that. So you got substance abuse, you got the comeback from that, you have the way that they rebuilt families for the positive, you have, you know, the spiritual rebirth, you have the repurpose, re-identification, right, if you will, or finding that identity as a person. And it has little to nothing to do with the military service aspect. That's just a chapter, if you will. But I think if you leave out the negative pieces, then you actually lose massive context. And with Adams, it's kind of hilarious the way that the book displayed it, because that they did not hold back. Right. And, you know, I heard it's getting turned into a movie. I'd be curious to see. I hope they don't dilute that part of it too, because he did some pretty unique stuff running from the cops here. So that part was pretty impressive. Yeah. But I mean, it was just another direct connection with why Coast to Coast needed to meet up with Fearless Rock and make this thing happen. Yeah, and we're honored by that. And if you don't mind, I know we're a little bit limited on time. No. For the people of Fearless Rock, everybody that's on our page and everything, go into a little bit about what you guys do, how it started as well, because it's a beautiful story. I love telling it. Mm-hmm. But it's so much better when it comes from one of you guys. Yeah, Coast to Coast was started in 2014 after the death of Ryan Savard, former teammate of mine. He was killed in 2012, and there were a few other individuals, friends of ours, who were shot up on target that night who lived, and Ryan passed. That was kind of like the thing that started this whole thing off. And a friend of mine, Chris, I was home at the time, I was in country at the time, and then I was actually near that target that night. I came home and he was like, hey, I think I'm going to fly to California, grab my dad's BMW, and I'm just going to see America on the way back. It was kind of his way of processing Ryan's passing. Yeah. And me and him started talking. I was sitting in a grocery store, and I went and bought a little coffee and was talking to him. And I said, hey, you know, what if we turn this into like raising some money? And none of us knew what that meant. Like, that means we got to deal with the IRS. That means we got to ask people for money. That's going to sound weird. Like, what does that look like? Yep. But basically, he did that whole route, and he would stop in at a lot of the families of the fallen individuals, not just Ryan's, but he stopped in at Ryan's family, and he just kept going till he hit North Carolina. And that was the first Ride for the Fallen, and then we turned it into an annual thing. And again, we did it backwards. Like, we had legitimacy within the special operations community. A lot of us were still working, both on active duty and in contract capacity. And we started putting guys through medical treatment, and our administrative side was just hot garbage. It ain't like it's improved. But over the years, other families started seeing it, and they were like, "Hey, would you remember this name? Would you remember this name?" Ryan wasn't the first that had passed. He wasn't going to be the last. And then we started including guys who had lost that war within. They had taken their own life. We've got a few other different stories that are included in that. This year we have a family, so a man and his two daughters that was lost in a house fire. But he was a legend in 3rd Special Forces Group. So what we wanted to do was keep those stories alive while having a freaking blast doing it. Like, driving in a truck is like watching TV. You really don't get to experience it. But when you're out in the mix, you're dealing with people around you, the weather, the environment, the smells, the national parks, you actually get to see a piece of America, pieces of America that you don't get to see elsewhere.
Right.
And then you factor in what's happening here at the lake, and it's like, well, wait a minute, we're going underwater. I don't know how to dive. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. We're like, well, we got some people who know what they're doing. They'll tell us how to do it. And then they'll jump on bikes with us. I mean, that was the whole intent. And so this thing has ballooned into something a little bit greater. And it's obviously way beyond the motorcycles. Now it's the whole intent, and it's a pass-through. The money is a pass-through,
Yeah, and it's you guys with all the treatments that y'all sponsor and everything that y'all do. It's kind of like our money, anything we make get donated to us. We funnel that over to the Adam Brown Legacy.
Adam Brown
Fund.
Legacy, yeah.
And which we love doing, because it's like, look, we don't want to make anything. We just want to help out, because we're doing what we enjoy. We're diving. We're maintaining a memorial.
Yeah.
We are honoring my friend. I grew up with Adam in my younger days.
I forgot to mention that earlier. I forgot about that.
Larry and Janice Brown and my dad and mom, they were all best friends. We traveled the country together. We got to see Arizona, Louisiana, Montana.
Yeah.
Because our dads would work and they had to travel for the work, and then they just kind of drug us along with them.
Yeah.
And so we grew up. Adam was the little brother that was so aggravating, and he was a little brother that always hung around and super tenacious. And he continued that through his whole life.
We got a ton of aggravating people on the road with us every year. I mean, so
Yeah.
all this kind of, chaos, weather, going under the water, a bunch of degenerates, former criminals. I mean, all this makes sense. So when you start,
it's like, how did we not start this sooner?
When you start putting two and two together, it's hilarious. And it's like, well, let's just continue doing that.
Yep.
That's kind of the way I go about it.
How long does it take you to go from there from Los Angeles all the way to Virginia?
So the Ride for the Fallen is typically 2 weeks.
Yeah.
That might be 14 days, might be 16, whatever, depending on what we do. But yeah, you're talking 3,800, 4,000 miles, 2 weeks, 17 days. And after that, everyone drops the mic in Arlington, Virginia, and goes their separate ways.
Yeah. So, I mean, you cover a lot of territory. You do a lot of different things. You raise funds. And some of the stretches they travel through are long stretches.
Yeah.
You leave here and you start heading in one section there, and it's
we're
a long
hitting.
stretch.
It'll be 400 and something to get to Nashville. I mean, these guys ran through Death Valley at 117 degrees last week. The next day, 2 days later, it was like 62 degrees, and so it didn't make any sense. And Eddie, I appreciate you letting us come through your backyard again, man.
Very
Today,
much.
It was
It's
pretty
an
awesome.
honor. It's a privilege for us to have you come through every year, and I can't wait till next year already.
Yeah, we'll figure it out, man. We'll do something weird next year.
That's right.
All right.